Hey everyone, welcome to Bare Elements Live. Thank you for joining me today. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about fast fashion. So I was inspired by a show that actually happened yesterday, and I'm kind of bummed because I definitely missed it. I didn't even really know it was happening until I saw pictures of it this morning. So that kind of inspired this week's episode. So today is Zero Waste Facts and Hacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about fast fashion, and we're going to talk about ways where we can actually have a sustainable kind of clothing routine, clothing system for ourselves. But like I said, I was inspired by a show that happened. So this show was called Ecolution Fashion Gala, and it was at the Pittsburgh Carnegie Museum music hall last night, and it was so cool. Like, I saw the videos of it. There were wait, let me read this. There were 22 local designers there, and their goal was to integrate sustainable, recyclable, and organic materials into stellar, environmentally savvy ensembles. Man, these outfits were so cool. They recycled like old CDs, and like one lady had a dress that was made out of old encyclopedia pages. I mean, it was so cool. Like I said, really bummed that I couldn't make it, to that show, but hopefully they do it again next year. But they did it for Pittsburgh's Earth Day, so very cool, and I think that's very interesting to do something on those lines. And the message was that sustainability is ahead. Sustainability is in our future, and I think that that's a really, really great statement to be making nowadays, because it's definitely possible. And we're kind of moving into that direction as a world at this time. And we're making it known, that we want, as consumers, we want more sustainable choices. We want these sustainable choices, and we want them more than the ones that aren't sustainable, that have been on the market for years. And so, as consumers, as a consumer who likes to be conscious of that stuff, I'm really excited about that. But so today, we're going to talk about fast fashion. And so, what is that? What does that mean? So the definition for fast fashion is any clothing that moves quickly from production to retail. It lets consumers take advantage of the latest trends, typically based on celebrity fashion or pop culture. So fast fashion, like an example of fast fashion would be walking into a mall. If you walk into a mall and you're going into those stores, typically those clothes are going to be the clothes that would be considered fast fashion. The ones that are, getting updated, weekly, monthly. I don't know how often stores update their clothing merchandise, but typical retail stores, place like that, the mall, you could find fast fashion. So why is fast fashion successful? Why do people go to it? So fast fashion, for consumers, they appreciate the benefits of it. The benefits of being the quick release, so the quick release of the clothing. Cheap styles, so the styles are affordable. You could buy an outfit for under $20 or something, up to the minute trends, so trendy items that may only be popular for one season and sometimes not even that long. So that's why fast fashion is people like it, because it's cheap, it's fast, it's different, it's quick. You can get the new trend, and then, God only knows what you're doing with it after you buy it, but, you get what I'm saying. So what are the environmental impacts of fast fashion? Well, I did some research, and I'm going to be spouting lots of facts. This is Zero Waste Facts and Hacks, so I'm going to throw some facts at you guys, just to, get everybody on the same page with, what fast fashion is actually, doing to the world. So one environmental impact of fast fashion is excessive water usage. So you're what? That uses a lot of water. That's not really a big deal. Well, okay, so it's the second largest consumer of water on the planet. The fast fashion industry consumes 93 billion cubic meters of water per year, which is crazy. That's a lot of water just to make some clothing for textiles. Textile dyeing actually requires toxic chemicals that subsequently end up in our oceans. So the different types of dyes that they're using for these clothes that they're making, they are actually toxic chemicals, a lot of them, and they're being leached into the water. And you know, what we drink the water, we bathe in the water. So that's another thing. 20% of the wastewater that is made worldwide is attributed to this process, which accumulates over time. So it definitely pollutes the water, and it definitely uses a lot of water, fast fashion. So yeah, so let's talk about, there's another thing here about the actual materials that they're using. So the actual materials that they're using are synthetics. So like they're making synthetic materials to make the clothing. So non-biodegradable materials such as polyester. Also plastic-based synthetic fibers, which would be like nylon and acrylics. So these garments obviously are not biodegradable, compostable. So, you know, they're gonna be put, you know, into the water, to microplastics, everything like that. They're not going to biodegrade. They're just going to be here forever, not decomposing. So yeah, synthetic fibers have taken over the industry. And like, why have they taken over the industry? They've taken over the industry because they're affordable, because they're cheap to make. It's a lot cheaper than sourcing like, you know, 100% organic cotton, or, you know, hemp, or like really actually sustainable plants to make clothing out of. It's cheaper. You know, everybody wants to save money on that. So another thing is fossil fuels and global emissions. So the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change shows that carbon emissions driven by fast fashion will skyrocket up to 60% by the year 2030. Business Insider highlights that it's responsible for up to 10% of global carbon emissions, which is crazy. So you're like, well, how does that impact me? Like, how does that impact me as a person? I don't, like, you hear that and then you're like, how does that affect me? Well, it can affect you because the impact of higher global emissions, it'll mean more frequent towards natural disasters, melting of polar ice caps, and shifts in the global weather patterns. So it does really affect you, you know, that too. And then one more point that I'd like to mention about fast fashion and the, you know, environmental impact is the labor injustice. It's definitely something that I'm sure that everybody here has heard of. Fast fashion aims to make clothes quickly and as cheap as possible, which means that low-paid, underpaid labor is typically, you know, the people who are going to be making this clothing. So like countries like Bangladesh, the Philippines, Turkey, Vietnam, and Brazil, a lot of that is coming out of there. But yeah, so not safe work practices, labor practices, and it's definitely not something, you know, it's not great. So, you know, that knowing those things and learning those things, you know, I really loved shopping before. You know, I learned all these things, and now it's kind of like different, but there's different ways to shop, and we'll talk about that next here. So what are some ways that we like, so what are the tips? What are the tricks here? What can we do? What can we do? So it's a two-way street here. I really feel like the production part of fast fashion really needs to change things. I really feel like it's up to them for a lot of it, because they're the ones producing the products, and we are the consumers, and, you know, we're purchasing them. So, you know, it's up to them to find more sustainable materials for us to purchase. And on the other foot, there's us as consumers. What can we do? Well, we can look for more sustainable choices of fashion. So what I like to do, let's go on my list here. So like thrifting. I really enjoy thrifting. I really enjoy secondhand shopping. If I'm trying to find something for my house, clothing wise, I really like to go thrifting. It can be fun, you know, you can go to flea markets and stuff and just really kind of hunt for a specific item that you're looking for. But it definitely is better than buying fast fashion brand new, because you can give that material, that piece of clothing or whatever, a new life, and it won't end up in a landfill, which is the other place that it would end up in. So you either purchase it, you know, again and give it a new life, or it'll go to a landfill. Clothing swap parties. I've heard of people doing this. Everybody going through their closet and getting the clothes that they don't wear anymore and going to like a place, everybody doing it, all of your friends doing it, and going through each bag and swapping each other's clothes. I always think that's a really good idea. Or you can do like me, whenever I decide to clean out my closet, I bag all my clothes up and I give them to my friends to go through. You don't really ask, you just kind of like, hey, here, you know. They've done it to me, I've done it to them, it's okay. We all appreciate it. So if you have some friends that are like, you know, think that they'll be into your stuff, by all means, go and drop off your clothes to them. I'm really sure that they'd appreciate it. Renting clothes, that's also another thing that you can do. If you need an outfit for like a specific event, like say you're going to like a gala or like a wedding and you need something super fancy and you don't have anything to wear like that, there are different places that you can rent clothing. So maybe you could do that as well. Maybe rent some cloths instead of buying, you know, something brand new, something that you might only wear one time. But yeah, so thrifting, clothing swap parties. Yeah, so also just finding, you know, sustainable clothing companies. There's plenty out there, I'm sure, that work with probably like hemp and cotton and organic materials. A lot better for the environment, a lot better, you know, for everyone involved. It just takes a little bit of time, you know, whenever you're kind of looking for more sustainable choices. It definitely takes time, it takes research, but in the end, it's totally worth it. Your Mother Earth thanks you, and you're doing a great job. So I really hope that I was able to kind of break down fast fashion for you, give you some tips and some guidance on what you can do, you know, to have a more sustainable shopping experience. I don't know. Okay. But yeah, so but yeah, thank you for joining me. And next week is going to be our product feature, so definitely stay tuned for that one. So next Thursday at 6 p.m. And I will see you guys later. I hope you have a really good evening. Thank you for joining me. I had a blast. Have a good evening. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.